Reading number 72, question number 2, most likely use of forwarded agreement which were being discussed yesterday. एक बार recollect करते हैं, what was the forwarded agreement that we had discussed yesterday? Anyone? Yeah.
That we decide a rate at which in the future we will be taking the loan.
Good. So loan is not going to be taken right now. If the loan is going to be taken right now, it's called as spot loan, and the interest on that is called as spot rate. For example, if I take a 5-year loan right now, then that would be called as S5, 5-year spot rate. So over here it's forward rate, not a spot rate. So he is right that the loan will not be taken right now, loan will be taken in the future. I think कल वाला जो example था उसमें the loan was taken after 2 years, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That MBA college वाला example, the loan was taken after 2 years, and I think the maturity of the loan was 5 years. So the loan was starting at t equal to 2, and the loan was getting over at t equal to 7, right?
Yes.
If I'm not able to, if I'm able to recollect properly, it was t equal to 2 पे loan was starting, and t equal to 7 पे the loan was getting over. It was a 5-year loan, but not starting right now. It was a 5-year loan which was starting 2 years from now. So we mentioned t equal to 2, t equal to 7, and बीच में I think the rate was 8%. तो हमने देखा 1 करोड़ के ऊपर 8% for 5 years was coming to I think 40 lakhs. And then we did the compounding also. 1 crore into 1 plus 8% raised to 5, that came to some 1 crore 47, 7 lakhs, something like that. So जो 8% है ना, that's called as a forward rate. Alright, so that fixed 8% rate that will be applicable between year 2 to year 7 is called as the forward rate. The problem is if you do not enter into the forward rate agreement, then after 2 years, you may find that a loan has become very, very costly. The interest rate might have increased and the loan might have become very, very costly. So it may not be affordable for you to take the loan, and in your plans for doing MBA, you may have to wind it up. So basically, right now, there's a possibility that interest rate may increase. So you want to lock into the rate right now. So that is being done with the help of forwarded agreement. इसमें मैंने बोला था the person who is taking the loan, that is borrowing the money, is long FRA or long guy, and the person who is lending the money is called as short FRA. Okay, the entire agreement is called as forwarded agreement. The 2 years after which the loan was starting was called as tenor of the agreement or tenor of the contract. And then 5 years, t equal to 2 to t equal to 7 is called as the maturity of the loan. Okay. And I had mentioned कि ये कैसे calculate करते हैं, we'll cover that in some reading of fixed income. Okay, that is, मैंने ऐसे ऐसे कुछ arrow करके मैंने किया था. Okay. So over there, the answer was simple. It was A, locking the interest rate for future borrowing and lending. I know बाकी के option में शायद you will not be able to like understand, but it was clear. The 2 to 7 के बीच में जो 8% rate था, जो हमने locked in किया था, so that is going to be the answer. Lock in the interest rate for the future borrowing and lending. The future borrowing would be done by long guy, and future lending would be done by the short guy. All right. Let me just tell you about option B. Exchange floating obligation for fixed obligation. ये हमने अब तक cover नहीं किया. This is called as swap. Take a note. Option B is basically called as swap. To be specific, इसका नाम है plain vanilla interest rate swap. Exchange, the floating rate for fixed rate is called as plain vanilla ice cream wala. Same, plain vanilla interest rate swap. So this was that swap. Option C, you have a right. Matlab option, but not an obligation. Matlab there's no commitment. Okay, you have a right. That means you have an option, but not a commitment to borrow at fixed rate. This is called as option, but कौन सा option? Call या put, ये हमें decide करना है. Okay. Obtain the right का मतलब है obtain an option. So you have an option with you. Now, when you have option to buy at a fixed price, it was called as call option. Similarly, B for buy, B for borrow. So this is called as interest rate call. All right. So normal call would be normal call gives you an option to buy, and this interest rate call gives you an option to borrow, not a compulsion to borrow, option to borrow. Forward rate agreement may, if you elongate, you have compulsion to borrow. And if you have an interest rate call option, you have an option to borrow at a fixed rate. Similarly, if you short an FRA, you have a compulsion to lend. And if you have an interest rate put option, you have an option to lend. Yaad hai? Ye similar to, it's basically your basically long forward contract versus call option. In the long forward contract, you had a commitment that you had to buy the laptop. In the case of call option, you have an option to buy the laptop. Yeah, same over here. If you long the FRA, you have to borrow. And if you have the interest rate call option, you have an option to borrow. Is it clear? Similarly, short forward contract versus having a put option. In the short forward contract, you have to sell the laptop. You means the shopkeeper have to sell the laptop. And in the case of put option, you have an option to sell the laptop. It's not a compulsion, it's an option to sell the laptop. I repeat, in the case of short forward contract, you have to sell, the shopkeeper have to sell the laptop. And in the case of put option, you have option to sell the laptop. Similarly, in the case of the short FRA, instead of forward contract, in the case of short FRA, you have to lend. And in the case of interest rate put option, you have an option to lend. Take a note of this. Quickly write down long forward contract and versus call option. Long forward contract versus call option. Long forward contract, you have to buy the laptop. Call option, you have an option to buy the laptop. Long forward contract, you have to buy the laptop. Call option, you have an option to buy the laptop. Long FRA, you have to borrow. Interest rate call, you have an option to borrow, which is what was mentioned in the option number C. Obtain the right method, option to borrow. Next line, short forward contract versus put option. Short forward contract versus put option. Short forward contract, you have to sell the laptop. Put option, you have an option to sell the laptop. I repeat, short forward contract, you have to sell the laptop. Put option, you have option to sell the laptop. Short FRA, you have to lend. Interest rate put, you have option to lend. So B stands for buy, B stands for borrow. So this was call option. And you have obtained the right matlab it was interest rate call. The answer was not C. C was interest rate call. B was swap. So the answer was A. I know, I knew that you don't know the option B and the C. But A देख के you should click कि yesterday हमने discuss किया था, इसके लिए I gave this question to you.